Hi guys, rise and shine. We grind, we are all fine, and the sun shines for yours and mine. My name is Tyrone, and welcome back to my show. Today, my show is a little bit more simplified. I have just one topic that I want to touch up on, and the topic that I wanted to touch up on is consumption. Consumption is definitely something that we all have trouble with. Um, the main problem that we all have, which is food. Food. It's either food, cigarette, you know what I mean, cigarettes and drugs and all of those types of things have a lot to do with consumption. Well, drugs, you really shouldn't even have any form of consumption. You should just probably get over that. But anyways, I want to get to the definition of consumption, and I feel that when it comes to consumption, it is the intake or the portion of the intake. And when I say the portion of the intake, I mean how much are you consuming? How much are you putting into yourself? It's whether it might be a book, how much knowledge you're gaining from that book. Whether you're eating, how much are you intaking? How much are you putting into your body when you're eating? And just like with smoking, how much are you smoking a day? How much are you putting into your system, into your lungs? You know, it all has to do with intake and how much you also indulge. We all have a problem when it comes to consumption because of many of the problems that we go through, traumatic, chronic, uh, addictive. We go through so many of these problems, and we try to figure out strategies in order for us to overcome these obstacles. Um, Consumption is definitely good for us to understand because we consume, we can think, we can eat, or we can obtain these resources. Because believe it or not, food, drugs, all of these things, they're all resources. So it just matters on how much we obtain. It is imperative to be able to decipher how much we can take, how much we can put into our bodies, literally. Uh, Even when it comes to relationships, I think when it comes to relationships, a lot of people have a hard time determining what they can consume from the relationship, what good things they can consume from the relationship instead of the bad things that they can consume from the relationship. And that brings me to a thing where I call consumption, or I should say there is a such thing as good and bad consumption. Um, when we are badly consuming things, we are overeating. We are over intaking through our bodies, whether it be people, places, things. It's definitely a boundary we need to set when it comes to the consumption of everything that we take. Um, I feel that it is important for us to identify the two. It's also good for us to identify the good consumption because the good consumption is what leads us into an impactful or beneficial change or transition. So, like, if you're changing your consumption and you're eating, then the impact or the benefit from that would be you losing weight. The benefit from that would be you gaining more vitamins or building up the nutrients within your body. You know, I feel that consumption for one is important because we all have limits. We put limits on ourselves, but there are, or what I can say is that there are certain things that we can limit ourselves in, but when it comes to the capability of the mind, that's something that we cannot limit. That's something that we cannot limit. But when it comes to these things that are on this earth, such as like food, even water, we have a capacity in our body that tells us how much water we should consume. And if we overconsume, then that is when we start to feel full. We start to feel over. could overly consumed with water. You know what I mean? So it's important for us to know those types of limits. Um, or set boundaries when it comes to consumption. If you feel like you're a type of person that likes to consume more than the average, then the best thing would be to do is to stop yourself from consuming those things, limit your resources, and cut off different resources. Those will be the types of things that'll help. Um, consumption consumption can definitely, I want to say, lead to better habits, such as putting God first. When it comes to the spiritual, you definitely, even when it comes to fasting with food, or when it comes to fasting with the things of this world, TV, social media, uh, all of these things that we indulge ourselves in on a daily basis, it has a lot to do with the consumption, you know. And if we are watching what we consume, then that is when not only we build ourselves physically, but we build ourselves spiritually. You know what I mean? We're learning what not to intake. We're learning not what not to indulge in. And sometimes it can be a little bit difficult for people when it comes to consuming, because sometimes or for certain people, it can be hard to decipher because of how much we consume and what we might have thought was comfortable in the first place. Sometimes we get into a sense of comfortability, thinking that that thing might be beneficial to us or it might help us in the long run, when in all actuality is something that's just going to put more of a strain on us. And in short, or it could also lead to getting better at not being able to handle or consume more than, how would I be able to explain it? It is definitely something that helps when it comes to consuming materialized things. You know, I feel that when it comes to such thing as like a phone, you know, something like a phone is definitely something that'll take away from what we are trying to learn. It'll take away from the capacity of what we can learn. I feel that sometimes when we overconsume, we are most likely worried about I feel that we're most likely concerned on what we're consuming rather than the consumption. And that's when we do get confused. You know, we think because of the things that we're consuming, we think that it might not build over time, or it might not be as effective as everything else was. But in short, when we control what we consume, we make ourselves more susceptible to control. We make ourselves more susceptible to learning how to say no, and even if you have to strategize yourself and put things to the side and say, no, this is not what I'm going to consume. I might save some for later, or I might just do this and I might not do that, because I feel that if I do that, that it'll make me feel this way, and I don't like feeling that way. We have to kind of think in those areas. What makes us feel good? Sometimes even I think it's like eating with our eyes and not our stomach, you know? We tend to look at things and we say to ourselves, oh, this looks good, not knowing that it's a whole lot. It's much more than what your stomach can handle, but you try to handle it anyways because you look with your eyes, and it's kind of, yeah, and it's just the whole spiel. You look through your eyes instead of being able to determine what you can handle. Um, this was definitely something that I felt that I needed to touch up on when it came to everybody. This was something that I felt in my spirit. Um, Consumption, when it comes to consumption, everybody, don't be afraid to tell yourself that I'm not going to consume that. It's okay to tell yourself that you're not going to consume anything, and it's okay to go against the feeling of what you think might be right. Because sometimes we have a feeling of something might be of something being right, and that we have a feeling of, which is, it feels right, but it is it right? It's like we know things that are right, and that we know things that aren't right, but that feel good to us. And we have to choose the things that are right, and the things that feel good, and the things that are right. Because when you are able to get off of the things such as eating, relationships, people, situations, stuff like that, when you are not able to consume all of the negativity or the bad things from those, then that is when you are able to not only control the mind off of what you consume, you are able to have a certain capacity, and you are able to hold your mental state of mind to a certain standard, saying that I'm not letting anything on this worldly plane control me, you know and that has been one of my many things that I have been trying to follow for years now. I feel that when it comes to everybody, consumption is something that we all struggle with, but we are not alone, and we will all overcome the adversity of consumption. We will overcome all of the adversities of everything that we might be going through. I tell you again, you're not alone. I love you. I love you. And I want you to know that none of the battles that you're going through is unnoticed. None of the battles that we're all going through is unnoticed, because I'm going through my own battles too, you know, between eating habits and smoking, and it's a lot for people to deal with. But I want to let you know that you guys are not alone in that. I don't want to just be the person on this saying, just explaining this to you guys and making myself feel like, you know what I mean, like I'm better. Because in all actuality, we're all trying to get there. We all trying to see God. So at the end of the day, I always want to let you guys know that we are all living on the same playing field, on the same earth. So it's better to always come together when it comes to collaborative ideas, and it's better to come together with love than it is with hatred, or than it is with confusion. Because when you come together, there isn't any confusion, because you're sharing ideas. So I feel that letting people that are isolated at this moment from these situations, letting them know that they're not alone, it makes everybody else just feel good. And I hope that this was a blessing to you guys. If it was, please leave a thumbs up in the like, and please comment, please subscribe, please click the bell link for the notifications. I love you guys. See you guys later, and I hope you guys have a good one.